Now, staying with economics, let's look at the potential economic fallout of this election, specifically how it will impact various markets. Stock markets were mostly calm over the last few hours across the globe. It was almost like the calm before the storm, though. There is anxiety in the air. Traders are bracing themselves, preparing for a long day ahead. And it isn't just stocks. Currency markets are expecting volatility. So is the bond market, even oil and gold. There's a lot riding on this election, so everyone is waiting with bated breath. The two US presidential candidates are very different. They champion divergent economic policies. So the markets will react very differently depending on who wins. Let's look at both scenarios. First, a Kamala Harris victory. Harris means continuity. She has promised to carry on with Joe Biden's economic policies. She says she won't rock the boat. In short, she is the boring candidate. If she wins, don't expect too many changes. In fact, her victory could ease some pressure on the rest of the world by causing the value of the US dollar to drop. Reports say it could fall by as much as 5%, the US dollar. But what happens if Trump wins? How does that change things? We'll start with the dollar again. A Donald Trump victory could see the value of the greenback go up by over 7%. People may start hoarding the US currency. Why? Because of Trump's plan to impose tariffs. Let's understand the chain of events. A tariff is like an additional tax on imported goods. Anything you import, a tariff makes it more expensive. It's usually a way to disincentivize imports. That is the long-term goal. But in the short term, tariffs usually lead to inflation. Imported goods become more expensive when tariffs are imposed, but it takes time for people to switch to cheaper alternatives. So in the short term, people end up paying more for imported goods, which leads to inflation. So that's step one, the imposition of tariffs leading to inflation. Now, what happens when there's inflation? Well, a country's central bank steps in. In the US, that's the Federal Reserve, or the Fed as they call it. The Fed will work to tame inflation. How? By raising interest rates. So tariffs lead to inflation, and inflation leads to higher interest rates. That is step two. Now, what happens when American interest rates are high? Well, usually this means that the value of the US dollar goes up. We saw that happen recently. Over the last few years, the Fed kept interest rates high and the dollar kept getting stronger. So if Trump wins the election, we can expect this to happen again. We can expect the US dollar to get stronger. Conversely, the other currencies will get weaker, especially the currencies of the nations that Trump puts tariffs on. The euro and the Mexican peso are at risk. Their value is expected to fall in the event of a Trump presidency. That's what currency traders are already predicting. So keep an eye on them as the election results come in. Now, what about stocks? Well, markets across the world will definitely react. But here's the catch. They probably won't react as much as they did in 2016. You see, markets swing wildly due to unpredictability. In 2016, no one thought that Trump would win. The result came as a shock to most observers, and the markets reacted to that. They made gains because of his business-friendly policies. This time it's different. We know that the race is neck and neck, and there's a very high chance that Trump will return to the White House, so the markets have taken that into consideration. And this time the gains may not be as pronounced. This is how analysts are looking at this election and its potential economic fallout. Let's see if their predictions hold true. Washington is all set for a presidential battle like no other.
In less than 90 days, it's either going to be him or me sitting in the Oval Office.
Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump.
All we want is one simple thing: get out on Tuesday and
A vice president versus a former president. As we head towards election night, Vantage will be live from the heart of the action, speaking to voters in this final stretch,
I'm still very undecided.
Very close presidential race.
tracking the campaigns as they make the last push. From exclusive ground reports to in-depth analysis, this is your one-stop destination for the presidential race. Join us on this special edition of Vantage, live from the White House in Washington, D.C.